Today I'm going to give away a free t-shirt, bring you a Comic Hero Throwdown Showdown fight, bring you comics news, and reveal the books I bought this week. How y'all doing? I'm Victor, and you are watching the Comic Hero Show. Now kick that intro! Edition of the Comic Hero Show. I'm your host Victor Nunley, and I am the Comic Hero. Now, every year on November 11th, we celebrate Veterans Day. Now, Veterans Day is when we honor all the men and women who have served in any of the 5 branches of the U.S. military who are still with us today. And you know, some of us, unfortunately, we kind of have a "what have you done for me lately" attitude when it comes to our veterans. And you know, I say this respectfully, but they're not athletes. These men and women have gone through and have seen a lot of things while serving and protecting our country. And I think we need to show them a lot more respect than what they've been given. I mean, if you see a veteran, you know, don't just thank them. Do more than that. You know, if you can, you know, do something nice for them. You know, take them out to dinner or anything of the sort. And if you're watching this and you're a veteran and I happen to cross your path, I will do more than thank food. I will definitely do the same, because you know, these men and women have fought hard for our country, and you know, they're living testimonies to hard work. And I personally want to thank some veterans that I personally know. My cousins Pat Washington and Lavert Washington from Minden, Louisiana. Some old school buddies of mine, Brandon Daniels, Clay Williams, Carlos Willis, Crystal Ray Murphy, Daniel Hale. I want to thank y'all so much for your services. Now, America isn't where it needs to be at. We still have a long way to go, but it's people like y'all that and others along the way that have fought and protected the freedoms that we tend to take for granted. And I'm gonna go ahead and say this right now: we may take our freedoms for granted, but one thing that we will never ever do is take for granted the men and women that have fought for those freedoms. All right, it's time to give away a free t-shirt. All right, on last week's episode, I asked which Marvel villain has killed more characters in their respective universe than any other villain. Now, on last week's episode and on social media, I gave some hints. Now, the first hint is that this villain made his debut in Invincible Iron Man number 55 in 1973. The second hint, this villain was the main villain in the Marvel miniseries, The Infinity Gauntlet, back in 1991. And then the final hint, and this is the real dead giveaway if the second hint wasn't a dead giveaway. This villain was the main villain in Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame in 2018 and 2019 respectively, and was played by Josh Brolin. Well, the correct answer is Thanos. And 15 people have answered correctly, and because they've answered correctly, their name's been entered in the drawing for a free tee. And that drawing takes place right now. So the winner of the free tee for this week's episode of the show is Jessica Short from Capel, Texas. So congratulations, Jessica. Win yourself a free Comic Hero tee. All right, here's the question for next week's episode, and this is both a Green Lantern question and a Veterans Day question. What is Hal Jordan's pilot name? Now, you're probably wondering, Vic, wait, what? Now, Hal Jordan has a pilot name. Now, I'm going to give an example. If you've ever seen the movie Top Gun or Top Gun Maverick, you would know that the main character that Tom Cruise played, which was Lieutenant Pete Mitchell, has the famous pilot name Maverick. Well, so did Hal Jordan. So what is his pilot name? Now, here's a hint. Hal Jordan's pilot name is also the name of an alcoholic mixture, which is part alcoholic spirit and a non-alcoholic beverage. Everyone who answers correctly will be entered in the drawing for a free tea on next week's episode of the show. Alright, on last week's episode, I gave y'all the opportunity to make some requests for the Comic Hero Throwdown Showdown fight, and I wanted y'all to pick 2 comic book characters who are military. And there were 2 of them that I really liked, but I went on ahead and chose the one by Jake Young from Springfield, Missouri. And now, this one features a DC character going up against a Marvel character, one from the Marines and the other one from the U.S. Army. Representing DC, we have the John Stewart Green Lantern. And representing Marvel, we have Professor X. These 2 are going to duke it out in a segment I like to call the Comic Hero Throwdown Showdown. Welcome to the Comic Hero Throwdown Showdown. Today, representing United States Marine Corps, it's the John Stewart Green Lantern versus Professor X, representing the U.S. Army. John Stewart, like most Green Lanterns, possesses a power ring that grants him the ability to fly, create force fields, space travel, generation of heart-like constructs, and real-time translation of all languages. Professor X possesses genius-level intellect, powerful psychic abilities including ESP, telepathy, and mental manipulation, and telekinesis via Cerebro. Who would win? It would be so easy to think Professor X would win, but not so fast. Professor X would try to render Stewart without the knowledge of using his power ring, but the latter reveals his other superpower. Stewart's willpower exceeds the limit of his ring, which is a rarity among anyone who possesses a power ring of any kind. Stewart then musters up enough strength to resist Professor X's mental manipulation and creates a heart-like construct of a helmet similar to Magneto's. This prevents Professor X from using most of its powers, and then the fight becomes hand-to-hand combat. The 2 would trade punches, blocks, and kicks for minutes on end. After taking down Stewart with a drop toe hold, Professor X via Cerebro begins to telekinetically remove his power ring. He does so, and it results in Stewart's heart-like construct disappearing as well as his costume. Just as Professor X psychically knocks Stewart out, he notices the USMC tattoo on his right arm. He relents and asks Stewart what rank he was and what tours of duty he served. Stewart then answers him and asks Professor X if he's military. Professor X tells him his rank and tours of duty. They then end the fight by treating each other to beer. America wins, and that concludes this fight on the Comic Hero Throwdown Showdown. Thank you, Jake Young, for that fight, and I hope y'all enjoyed it. Now, next week, because it was a great fight request, I'm going to use the one that was submitted by Graham Fraser from Leytonstone, London. All right, now it's time for Comically Speaking, so without further ado, let's talk comics! All right, there are only 2 things we're going to talk about in this segment of Comically Speaking, and the first one is recently I got caught up with reading Captain America. The last issue I read was number 23, which is part 4 of a story arc entitled All Die Young. And this book is currently written by Ta-Nehisi Coates, and he has done such an incredible job on it. Now he's so far he's getting Steve Rogers back to the road of vindication after the events of Secret Empire, when an evil doppelganger ended up taking control of Hydra and ended up almost taking over the world. Cap comes back from being in prison inside a cosmic cube and takes him down. But even though this happens, the world still doesn't trust him. And so while he's been on the path of vindication, or the road to vindication rather, it hasn't been easy. Well, it all started when he ends up getting falsely accused of murdering Thunderbolt Ross, which we later find out had faked his own death with the use of an LMD, or a life model decoy. And along the way, the Daughters of Liberty, which consist of characters like Sharon Carter, which is of course Captain America's love interest, the Invisible Woman, and Misty Knight, break him out of prison and try to get him vindicated. And I mean, it's been a very long and difficult path. And then, if that wasn't enough, he ended up having to go against this this vampiric like character named Celine, who ended up sapping the souls of all the people that she comes encounter with. And she also saps part of Sharon Carter's soul, and she's near death. And if that wasn't bad enough, Sharon Carter, in a previous volume of Captain America, ended up being kidnapped by Arnim Zola, and then ended up having years of her life taken away from her. And when Cap comes to rescue her, she appears to be middle-aged. So they're trying to hurry up and find her, and not only restore the souls, her soul, but also the souls of everyone that she stole from. But when they and which they do, but when they put in, but here's the thing: when they and they did this with the help of Shuri. Of course, that's the Black Panther's sister. And when she restores Sharon's soul, not only did the rest of her soul was returned, but also her youth that was stolen from her by Arnim Zola. And that was number 23 was the last issue that I read, and I'm about to read number 24, and the cover of it says it all. They're going up against the Red Skull. Now, the Red Skull has been inside the body of Alexander Lukin ever since the evil doppelganger of Steve Rogers ended up seemingly killing him in the previous volume of Captain America. And I love the way Coates writes this book. It's almost like watching an hour-long Captain America TV show or a cartoon. You know, which reminds me, there has never been a Captain America animated. Captain America has never had his own animated series. If he has, then I think he has, but it wasn't real. But I don't think it really got to air. But my thing is, if they hire Ta-Nehisi Coates as a story consultant or a showrunner, you're talking about must-see TV, because Captain America right now is a must-read comic, and I recommend that to anyone. All right, now the second thing is that there's been news that Marie Javins has been named the editor-in-chief of DC Comics. All right, for those of y'all who don't know who Marie Javins is, she started out as a secretary, editorial assistant, colorist, and editor for Marvel. And I actually have some books that she did the color on. And in 2001, she leaves Marvel and launches an around-the-world online project called mariesworldtour.com, and she goes around the world several times. But for a number of years after that, she ends up working for Teshkil Media Group and becomes the editor of a book called The 99. And then a few months ago, 3 months ago to be exact, there was a very crucial shakeup at DC, and there were some hires, and there were more there were more folks being fired and laid off because of this shakeup, and Marie Javins was actually named an associate editor-in-chief. Well, now she is now full-time editor-in-chief. Now, you're probably wondering who was the other editor-in-chief. That was Michelle Wells. And now Javins is now the sole editor-in-chief of DC Comics, and I think she's going to do well because, you know, she's been in the biz for a very long time, and it takes someone with the longevity and the work experience that she's had in order to do this job. Now, I also like this because it's an honest to goodness from the bottom to the top story. Sometimes the most successful people end up, that have had the work experience and the longevity, again, end up being taking a position like this, and I'm so glad that she's taking it, and much success to her. All right, that's it for Comically Speaking. But let's get to the comics I bought this week.
Comic books I bought this week.
All right, first up is Action Comics number 1026. The Amazing Spider-Man number 50 LR. LR means Last Remains. The Amazing Spider-Man number 51. The Amazing Spider-Man number 51, Last Remains, or LR. Aquaman number 64. Batman number 101. Batman 3 Jokers number 3. Catwoman number 26. Detective Comics number 1029. Excalibur number 13. Dark Knight's Death Metal, Rise of the New God. Empire Fallout, Fantastic Four. Fantastic Four number 25. The Flash number 764. Guardians of the Galaxy number 7. The Immortal Hulk number 39. Iron Man number 2. Justice League number 55. Justice League Dark number 27. Legion of Superheroes number 10. Metal Men number 11. Teen Titans number 46. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles number 110. Venom number 29. Wonder Woman number 765. X-Men number 13. finally, X-Men 10 of Swords, Stasis. All right, that's 27, which brings the total number of comics that I bought since December of 1997 to 10,276. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. Here's a question again for a free tee for next week's episode of the show. What is Hal Jordan's pilot name? Now, here's a hint. His pilot name is also the name of an alcoholic mixture, which is part alcoholic spirit and non-alcoholic beverage. Everyone who answers correctly will be entered in a drawing for a free tee on next week's episode of the show. And congratulations to Jessica Short from Capel, Texas, who won a free tee on this week's episode. All right, now next week I'm going to raise awareness of diabetes. Now, diabetes, I personally know some folks that have diabetes. I personally know some folks that have passed on from complications of diabetes, and I personally know some folks who have family members that have either lived with diabetes or are passed on from complications as well. And this episode is for them. And then next week, I'm going to celebrate Thanksgiving. And then almost every episode, except for the final episode of December, will be Christmas episodes. And, you know what, I don't say this very often, I don't say this as much as I need to, but if y'all have any ideas for the show, please let me know. Your thoughts never fall upon deaf ears on me. They never fall upon deaf ears with me. So go ahead and do so. And just remember, if there's anyone you know that's a U.S. veteran, do more than, I mean, it's okay to thank them for their services if that's the only thing that you can do for them. But if you know that you can do more, you know, take them out to dinner. You know, offer to wash their clothes or anything. Just do something very nice for them. You know, these men and women have fought very hard and valiantly to protect the freedoms that so many times we take for granted. And the least we could do is do something nice for them in return. And like I said at the beginning, if for any vet that's watching this, if there's anything that I can do for you, anything that's within my power to do, I will do it. You know what? I love my country. I love the men and women that have served, and that currently are serving, and even those who are no longer with us. But I believe in giving people their flowers while they yet live, and that's something that just about all of us need to do. You know, it's all about love. I'll just say that much. It's all about love. If you can't do anything else in this world, love somebody. There's nothing wrong with it. All right, I'm Victor Noli on the comic here. I'll see you next week for episode 333. So until then, be safe, be blessed, be a hero, and thank you, vets. We love you.